All right, we want to welcome in the great Ken Eriksen, 28 years now at USF and still winning, coach. Still doing it. On to Tallahassee, my old stomping grounds for the regional here. You guys win another conference championship. Congratulations. How you feeling, coach?
Not bad, but it ain't 28 years. It's been since 1979, actually, as a student athlete, then an assistant coach, and then continued on. So, holy smokes, I think we're talking 46 years, right? Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
It's a
Well,
lot.
the
It's a
bio said
lifetime.
28. I thought it was a little light, but you're are you still seventh in wins in D1 coaching, or did you move up this year?
I don't know. I have no idea about that stuff, but I will tell you this, that there's two guys here that have been here a while, myself and Jose, but Jose looks old, right? I'm looking pretty good still.
You do.
Yeah, I still
Last time
got,
I saw him, I was like, yeah, it's
he's
a
old.
grind, huh, coach? You're looking old there.
Yeah,
Ken's gonna lap you.
yeah, I still got all my hair, all my teeth. I'm doing really well. I think he's been to the doctor like 2 times a week just to maintain. So,
I didn't have trash talking with Jose on my bingo card to start this up, but I absolutely love it. I
yeah.
absolutely love it.
Well,
Well, you
the
two
new testament.
guys, if I may, I've known both of you, Jose Fernandez, for those who don't know, the head basketball coach out there. You two guys have been holding it up over there. The constant NCAA postseason tournaments. This is what, your 12th?
It might be, maybe 16, 17.
I
18,
mean, I
yeah.
got a bunch of numbers here. I can't read any of my writing, but I know you've been to the College World Series, 2 times Super Regional, 18th, yes, 18th Regional, a third in 5 years. How do you keep doing it? How do you keep doing it, Coach?
Yeah, you teach, right? You don't worry about the scoreboard. You try to go out and get the best people you can that play the game and have a capacity. And we're very, very fortunate at USF and getting up on a soapbox here, but athletes can get better quicker and smart athletes can get better a lot quicker. And to be able to get into school here, first of all, you have to have some type of capacity upstairs. And to combine that with athleticism, it's been a pleasure. It makes my job easy. I don't have to worry about them going to class. I don't have to worry about them not doing well in class. And so if their academics are in order, it's a lot easier to come out on the ball field and play. And our game is a thinking game. It's methodical at times, but it's also about depth, dimension, mathematics, and angles. And I know that's stuff people don't want to hear about, but it's really very analytical. And so if you can get young people between 18 and 22 to understand that the game is played on statistical analysis, on chance, and those type of things, we try to just put ourselves in the best position we can. And we've been fortunate to have the right people in the right positions.
Yeah, well, and that's great coaching. And you mentioned the talent that you have here, and I was looking at your roster, and you do a lot of homegrown recruiting here. You got Sam Walls and Grace Chin from Newsom High School. I might miss one or two here. Sickles High School, Dania Brooks, one of your better players. Jocelyn Wilkes from Gaither, Alex Wilkes from Gaither. You got there's a Cambridge Christian where my kids went to school. Shout out to Olivia Elliott. Remember her well. So you got a lot of local high school kids here. Talk a little bit about your local recruiting.
I'm very stubborn, right? I'm an East Coast guy to begin with, right? So when we went to the World Series in 2012, the sports information people at Oklahoma City came up and said, you're the first team that's ever come to the College World Series and still the only team that every one of your kids that was on your roster was born in a state that bordered the Atlantic Ocean. And I've always thought, look, we understand that there's great players in Texas and Arizona and Illinois and so forth, California, but there are great players everywhere. You just have to work a little bit harder, right? To go get them and make sure they're the ones that are in your program. But if you recruit local players and players that are loyal to the area and love the Tampa Bay area, and you put them on the field, your crowds are pretty good because there's local interest, And so, we're averaging probably close to 90% capacity at the stadium. We've been always in the top 10 of attendance all the time in softball. So there's a great interest, a great environment. And, I don't think it's anything we're going to change because there's a lot of great talent right outside the back door.
Yeah, there really is here locally. All right, so you're heading up to Tallahassee. You're going to take on the Auburn Tigers. Just means more in the SEC, as you know, Coach. They got more resources. They got more everything. How do you think you match up with Auburn?
Match up well. We're not football where it's a Power 4 or Power 5, right? We're an outdoor sport. And so you see the challenges across the country with baseball and softball. They don't necessarily follow the power grid of a football and a basketball programs. However, at the same time, no denying what you talk about in respect of resources and so forth. But if you're efficient, you're economical, and you're going to be in a position to be very, very competitive when it comes to recruiting, and also it's about the teaching. And once again, I'll go back to the fact that we got smart guys that play the game really well, and they have no fear.
Yeah. Of course, you might have to run into that other team in Tallahassee, Florida State.
Well, they got to get there. They got
That's right.
Robert Morris. So, well, the one thing this too, JP, right? And every sports fan knows this. Just go back to the NCAA basketball tournament, and they talk about Cinderellas, but you got to win one game.
Yeah.
For us, it's just tee it up. We know we play at 12 o'clock on Friday, and then after that, we have no idea, and we don't worry about it. But it's college sports is 18 to 22-year-olds who shows up that day. It's not like pro sports. You know that the wide receivers are going to catch the ball over the middle. College goes over the middle. You don't know if they're going to catch it, right? So you got to show up and you got to perform on an everyday basis. That's tough for any college team to continue on with a great year.
I know you've been to some regionals out west, so this is kind of cool. Your fans can travel, obviously, to Tallahassee. You think you'll bring a wagon or two up there to Tallahassee?
I guarantee you, we're already.
Nice.
I mean, I'm not a ticket broker, right? But Jesus, holy smokes!
Now you wish you went out west now, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, holy gosh, hey, where's the hotels and the plane tickets and all that kind of stuff? And no, we're just, I'm just trying to, right. That's it.
I got you. Yeah. You have people to handle those things, Coach. You got to coach the team, right?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about your team. Your duo, your pitchers, Peyton Dixon and Bell Sargia. Is it? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are correct.
Tell me about the duo and the circle and how you've used them back and forth.
Well, Bell's from the Academy of Holy Names, and
nice.
Peyton's up from the Delaware area, but Peyton's strong, hard throwing lefty, and then we match her up with a crafty righty and Bell Sargia, so they play off each other really, really well. And it's almost like, okay, I'm going to date myself right here, right? It was like having Jerry Kuzman as the lefty and Tom Seaver as the righty.
Old Mets fan. Okay.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And, but to have those two out there on a daily basis makes it easy for us. And then we actually have a young lady that comes in, was a freshman from the Orlando area, Ann Long. So you've got a nice combination of side to side, north, south, off speed, down zone pitchers. So everybody's diversified.
And talk a little bit about your offense. Dania Brooks, I know, is from Sickles, one of your better players. Alex Galligan's, if I'm saying that correctly.
You're not, but I'll help you out. Don't worry.
All right, please do.
So Alexa Galligani, who's from White Plains, New York area. Her dad was a major league prospect. He made it through the minors, but she's a heck of a hitter, and probably one of the smoothest hitters we've had, outside of freshman Karis Pierce right now, who is actually from across the bay, right? So you've got two lefties that swing it well. You've already mentioned Elliott. Alex Wilkes is swinging it really, really well right now. Dania, her dad has a tendency to take credit for her for no reason at all. I actually think thank goodness for mom's athleticism in that family. That's a big deal, right? So, but
who would her dad be for those who might not know?
Yeah, that old Derek Brooks, and what a pleasure that family is. But
yeah, they are.
she's a special athlete, special person, and we're fortunate to have her at third base. She makes it look easy, and then that combination in the infield with Brooks at third, Rivera at short, and then Kathy Garcia Soto from Jefferson, who's been on ESPN a multitude of times for defensive play at second base, rounds out a pretty good team for us on both sides of the ball. Yeah.
So, who the heck is Derek rooting for?
He
a family first, I imagine.
Let's put it this way right now. If mom finds out that he's not rooting for the kid, it's over.
It's over,
right? No doubt.
So you're scared he's probably terrified if FSU plays USF.
Well, I don't know if he is, to tell you the truth. I mean, he is, he's a Tampa Bay guy.
Yeah.
And above and beyond anything else, he's such a loyal family, loyal Tampa Bay guy that obviously, yeah, if he had maybe a relative on FSU, that might be a little bit different. But right now, he's all in with us. He's been
That's
such a
awesome.
such a pleasure over here at USF to be with. He's also part of the group over with the Lightning. So he's Tampa Bay through and through. He reminds me so much of Leroy. When Leroy was here, and such great human beings to begin with, and
Wow.
so giving to
Yeah.
everybody. But and I actually met Derek because of Leroy. Leroy introduced me to Derek about 13 years ago, and there's not a day that goes by that you don't think about that guy.
Yep.
Here at
Absolutely.
USF, but Derek is in that mold. There's no doubt.
It's interesting you said that. Obviously their connection is Buccaneers and Hall of Famers, but they are very similar human beings in a lot of different ways. And that it's awesome that memory of Leroy never leaves you. I'm
No,
sure as your
no,
athletic director for many years, and
right, right.
it's an interesting connection there. Well, the coach, really real quick, outside of what's going on this weekend, how has things changed for you in the softball world, in the NIL transfer portal world? How hard has that been to keep teams together? What's it been like?
We're very, very fortunate. The majority of the teams that we play against this year, their lineups are okay, and transferred from, and transferred from, and transferred from, and take a look at our lineup. It's all homegrown, and they're here, right? So,
Yeah.
so we're doing something pretty good, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact of once again, I'll go back to the academic parts of what USF is about and what people are looking for. You can be a major league prospect in baseball as a guy, and everybody that plays baseball in college thinks they're going to the big leagues. But in women's athletics, there's a percentage that says, "Hey, I'm going to go. I'm going to have a great experience. I'm going to compete. I'm going to win." And then there's a big girl job waiting for me at the end, or I'm going to go get another degree. And
Right.
so we've been fortunate to reach those type of players that buy into that part, and not
Interesting.
necessarily, okay, am I going to make a shit ton of money elsewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That type of deal. At the same time, your point is very valid. The landscape is changing tremendously, right? And so we cannot not adapt to what may happen in the future. But if we continue to recruit at USF the way we are, and that's going after position players that are really, really good and pitchers that are really good, you're not going to cut your nose off and spite your face if there's the
Right.
number one pitcher in the country that wants to come here, right?
Right.
Got it? And that's when I start knocking on doors and going, okay, I need this type of money to make
Yeah.
sure we can facilitate that. And Michael Kelly and our development program have done a great job right now of starting to build the coffers up a little bit so we can continue to compete on that national level.
What kind of numbers are we talking about here for softball players? For the
Well,
top ones? What are we talking about?
yeah, Texas Tech dropped $1 million on a deferred plan to a pitcher out of Stanford last year, right?
Oh my
Um,
Lord!
but JP, the one question I've always had, right, is that how sustainable is this right now
Right.
in
Right.
the return factor, right? You've got to have money that's going to go into the NILs that there's not an expectation of a return factor, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where you really can make money. So if there's a big oil baron, in Oklahoma, and he's trying to get rid of money, he's going to drop it because it's disposable income. So
Right. Right.
we are in a different situation in Tampa Bay. We're a pro sports town. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not the only game in town. If New York is the same way, if you're St. John's basketball in New York, you're competing against the Knicks,
Yeah.
the Jets, the Mets, and all those type of things, right?
Right.
In,
Right.
in Tampa Bay, we've got some really good pro teams that, the car dealerships want the quarterback out there. They don't want the second baseman,
Yeah.
for
Well,
the
I get
softball
it.
team,
Yeah.
right? But in those other towns that are college towns, it's a different level of deal. So that's what you compete with. But at the same time, you get to live in Tampa Bay.
That's
You
right.
know what I
That's
mean?
right.
So that's a big bonus for us.
And one thing we're seeing, is that continuity wins. The teams, I think, when the playoff that we just saw in football, no team had more than 7 transfers.
Yep.
So you're seeing these teams that are having wild numbers of transfers in football. I mean, that's where we get most of the data. Like
Yep.
FSU, you have wild swings from 13-0 to 2-10. So, and I think also, and let me ask you, do you sense that the players are starting to figure it out that, the grass isn't always greener and they're not transferring as quick as maybe they did a couple years ago?
I think you're right. I think people are figuring out that the saying that we have, the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. It's on the side that you water it the most,
That's right.
right? And people are like real estate. The more you keep them, the more valuable they become over time. And so, do you want to win a championship? Because that's what people remember. They're not going
Right.
to remember
Right.
your 328 batting average. They're not going to remember, hey, I
Exactly.
caught 17 passes in 2 games. But they
Hmm.
are going to remember when you're wearing that ring,
Yeah.
and then you got that number on the board because you're a champion the rest of your life. So I think there's a value to everything you do. Okay. But the
Uh,
people that we're getting phone calls from and like, hey, this kid wants to play for you. How much money do you have? And I'm like, well, she's not for us because that's not what I want to hear.
right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Hey, you've been there, as you said, many, many years. Football stadiums, grounds broken. Yeah, Michael Kelly's doing a heck of a job. You've seen, so much growth in facilities there, the softball stadium, baseball stadium. I mean, can you encapsulate what you've seen over your lifetime and kind of verbalize the momentum that USF has right now?
So leaving my freshman dormitory at the University of South Florida, walk to the baseball field, okay,
Right.
and end up with the sand spurs up my socks and the red ant bites, up my legs, right? And then be careful because if you walk through the fence, you might need a tetanus shot, as the chain link would surround the ball field, and then you go down to batting cage and you're in 2 foot, depth of dirt because there's no grounds crew. To what we are in right now is the Taj Mahal of what's
Yeah.
going on, and it's amazing what's happened. My first day on campus, I'm driving down 2-lane Fowler Avenue. All right, and
Wow.
I'm not even sure that Bruce B. Downs even went past the hospital over there.
Yeah.
There was
Right.
nothing up on 54, right? It was all cow pastures and this and that. And you could, and if the wind blew right, down here, you smelled it, right? Pretty good, right? Between the bush hops and the dung coming from
Yeah.
the north, it was amazing. But what we have right now is people come back here, even in the last 10, 15 years, and just go,
Yeah.
oh my God, what is going on right here? I mean, when I first came down, the only building downtown, and that was the Sky, was the First National Bank building. That was it, right? It was the
Yeah.
pagoda type building, and now the skyline is indicative of the university's growth also,
Yeah.
right? When I
Yeah.
got here at USF, we had 22,000 people, and 18,000 were commuters.
Yeah.
Okay. We have 18,000 beds on campus right now. I mean,
Wow.
that's a huge difference. And then to your point, the capital projects, and now a football stadium going on. I mean, I used to walk to the business building. There was a guy in a lemonade booth that was taking donations for a football team. People are dropping
That's
quarters
right.
on 25
Yeah.
cents and a dollar, right? And now we got Leroy that came in here and got $50,000 donors, a bunch of them, and now we got a stadium coming on campus. And Alex Golish is doing a heck of a job. He's got us back in the national spotlight. I mean, what a place to be right now.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Well, Coach, congratulations on all your success. We're rooting for you. Even if you play FSU, I'm rooting for you, partner. You're like family. So
I
I'm
appreciate
kind of
it.
like Derek with that as well. So go get him this weekend and good luck.
JP, thanks a lot.
You got it.